Hello, BookTube. I've got some random new book arrivals for you, old books that just got here, new books that just got here. I want to go through them with you, but you'll have to apologize for me sounding all cloddy and cloggy. I just had the world's largest allergy attack, the rubbing at the eyes and the running at the nose and the misery and the whatnot. And it wasn't pleasant. I had to wait for it to be over. But now it appears to be over, so let's go through a bunch of these things. They're all from all over the place, and I'm going to need your help with one of them. Because I stink at this sort of thing. The first one is a Loeb Classical Library, a new Loeb Classical Library. This is a new translation of two tracts by St. Augustine. The translation is by Carolyn Hammond. So these are the Loeb Classical Library editions, these little mass market hardcovers where you get the original classical language on one side and an English translation on the other. The editors at Loeb Classical Library seem to have been asleep at the wheel. Maybe an intern designed this cover because they left off the saint part. His name is not Augustine. His name is St. Augustine. But this is a new translation of The Teacher and Teaching Christianity. And those are two tracts that don't often get translated, especially in nominally secular circles. One is from the beginning of Augustine's career and the other is from the end. But he's tremendously readable anyway at anything that he did. And it's a thrill to know that I'm... I don't know the date on this. I don't know the date of release, but it's a thrill to think that I'm just going to sit down with a new translation of St. Augustine. That's wonderful. So you get The Teacher and Teaching Christianity, two tractates here with lots of notes in a new translation. So that, of course, interests me. That, of course, is going into the little book room. Then we had the first of two free library finds. I go out walking with the Bean. Sometimes she feels like going on long walks, and when we go on long walks, we sometimes encounter little free libraries. And I should not take books out of little free libraries at all. Considering that I get books in the mail and that I get a mountain of books when I go to the Brattle Bookshop, I shouldn't do it, but I do. Part of the fun of finding a little free library is to take something. And this time around, I took something I've already read. I found a hardcover of Quicksilver by Neil Stephenson, the book one in his Baroque cycle. Huge thing with the deckled edges. I read this when it first came out. What was that, 20 years ago? Could it be that this thing is 20 years old? 2003. Yeah, so 20 years ago. I read this when it first came out, and I thought, this is eloquent, and it's fun, but it is literally just you making up one damn thing after another. It's not structured at all. It has the outward appearance of something that is elaborately structured, but it's actually not. It's just you pulling stuff out of your tuchus for 1,000 pages and two more volumes of 1,000 pages. I don't think I read the other two volumes, but I want to give this one another try because I've heard Neil Stephenson in interviews and read interviews with him, and I've also heard from his acolytes that the Baroque cycle, like everything else that he wrote, is heavily structured. It's not just whimsical. And I want to believe that because in the interviews where I've read of him, he seems like the type who would exhaustively plot something ahead of time, that would know what he was doing and not just be hauling in bric-a-brac for 1,000 pages. But on the other hand, for 20 years, I have listened to J.K. Rowling fans say that the Harry Potter books are carefully plotted, and they certainly are not. They are other examples of a 1,000-page book where the author is just pulling one thing out of her tuchus after another. So it's not fair anyway, and it's long since time, so I will be giving this another go, and the price was right. I just grabbed it out of a little free library and walked along with the Bean, who had no idea why I'd stopped. Okay, let's look at some new books. So this next one is a November release, I believe. Is that right? Yes, early November. This is by Mark Still, and it is Pearl Harbor, Japan's Greatest Disaster. Pretty interesting subtitle. Usually subtitles are not interesting, but I bet you can guess what the author means by that. This is a detailed re-examination of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor that saw the USA enter World War II. In this first comprehensive treatment of Pearl Harbor since the early 1990s, that can't be true. Respected Pacific War naval historian Mark Whoever traces the American preparations for an attack and the Japanese attack itself. Examining the role of the man behind the operation, Japanese Admiral Yamamoto, as well as the strengths and weaknesses of the plan, this book is a comprehensive narrative of Pearl Harbor along with an appreciation of its results. Odd choice of words there, but I have a little library of Pearl Harbor books, and I love the subject. So I'm happy to read another one, especially since I'm going to have to check to see how long it's been, but it hasn't been a short enough time for me. I love these things, provided they're well done, and we will see. So let's see if that's what that paper is. That is early November. Then we have something for 2026. This is from February, and this is Cromwell's Spy by Dennis Sewell, who I believe I've read before. I think he wrote a book on Catholicism, on Catholics in history that I really liked. I'm pretty sure. This is a remarkable story of George Downing, savvy soldier, politician, diplomat, spy, and one of the most scandalous figures of his era. Judged by his contemporaries to be a perfidious rogue, only one contemporary said that. Sir George Downing rose to prominence during the English Civil War as Oliver Cromwell's chief of military intelligence. In the interregnum, he proved himself a double dealer who bribed and blackmailed his way to diplomatic success across Europe, pioneering the practice of judicial kidnapping and starting 2 major wars in the process, before spectacularly betraying his friends to horrifically violent deaths by defecting to Charles II's court. Always at the center of events, Downing engaged with the most illustrious men and women of his time. Samuel Pepys was his clerk. John Milton prepared his letters and dispatches. William of Orange was godfather to his son. His next-door neighbor was Queen Elizabeth of Bohemia. And when Downing finally built his street, Downing Street, his surveyor was Sir Christopher Wren. And this has got to be his first biography in English. Or, I mean, in the American market. It's just got to be. I'm assuming that despite the title, this is just a full-dress biography. We shall see. I hope it doesn't just center on his espionage activities, because the life is really good. I think I've only read one biographical attempt at this man, and it was a long time ago, and it was an old book. So, great. Next year, so it doesn't interest me for this year. Okay, then these next two I need your help on, because these are from Atlantic Crime, and they are more of those reprints that we've been seeing of the novels of Len Deighton. We have Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Spy, which is perfect for Dr. November, which is coming right up, and Horse Underwater, slightly longer Len Deighton, that I don't remember at all. I'm not sure that I ever read Horse Underwater. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Spy is a classic. It's just wonderful. I'm going to be overjoyed to read it again. Overjoyed. In a sturdy trade paperback that will not let me down. That is great. So this publisher is coming out with all of Len Deighton in these uniform trade paperbacks, and that's where I need your help, because I stink at knowing where I talked about things. I would love it if one of you perhaps remembers the last time we saw one of these reprints, or maybe both the last times. I know we've talked about them at least twice. Do any of you have a firmer memory than I do of when that was? Could you perhaps find the mail haul that has those mentions? So that I could send them to the publicist. The publicist and all their team are curious to know, curious to see them on camera with a cute little dog in the background. I have tried, and I cannot find those mail hauls to see where the last Len Deighton batch came from, or maybe the last two. The one before, the last one was just about a month ago. Maybe a little bit more than that, I think. The one before that would have been quite some time before that, right at the beginning of the year, probably. But I can't find them. I can't find them. But anyway, whether you can find them or not, I highly recommend Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Spy, and I'm going to waste no time in rereading it. I will probably make a video about it for Dr. November, a BookTube event coming up, all about espionage, fiction and nonfiction. So I guess both of these would work, because Downing was a spy. It's right there on the cover. So both of those would work, except I can't read the Downing book in 2025 because it's a new release for the next year. Okay, then we have two books from Wesleyan Press, Wesleyan University Press. The publicist was wonderful about these, and I will give them another try. I will read them with an open mind. That's going to be hard, because my last encounter with this author was fairly exhaustive and entirely negative. The author is Jack Spicer, who I suppose, for courtesy's sake, I must refer to as a poet. And Wesleyan, bless them, they've come out with The House That Jack Built, which is the collected lectures of Jack Spicer. That's incredible. So this is the text of the lectures, an introduction, notes, just amazing. And then this thing, Even Strange Ghost Can Be Shared, which is the collected letters of Jack Spicer in a new hardcover. So the last time that I spent time dealing with Jack Spicer, I dealt with him as a poet, which is a role in which he is a total fraud. He has no ability at all as a poet, which makes him a legend in modern poetry. In post-1959 poetry, he is a legend. But that doesn't change the ontological, observable fact that he has no more talent as a poet than Frida does. But here I am dealing with him in a different register completely. I'm dealing with lectures that he delivered and letters. And traditionally, whether I like a poet or not, whether I like anyone or not, the nonfiction route is usually the route in for me. So great that these two are great yeah, there he is. There's the face. A poorly carved Halloween pumpkin. It's great on Wesleyan to do these things. These are valuable. It's valuable that they're adding these out into the world. So that's fantastic. It will be a re-encounter with Jack Spicer, and we will see if it goes any better than it did 15 years ago. And then finally, more Little Free Library. The Bean and I were out. We were walking around, having a wonderful time, chatting with each other, and I came across a Little Free Library that had 3 hardcovers in it that I wanted. Now, I drop off books at Little Free Libraries too, so I didn't feel guilty about that, but it was a little bit awkward. I wasn't carrying a tote bag or a shoulder bag of any kind. I had to carry these 3 things while walking the Bean. Fortunately, she doesn't require she's not any trouble when we walk. She just walks right near me, about 6 inches in front of me, to my right-hand side, just unless she wants to stop, in which case we stop, and unless I stop, in which case she stops. But she's not pulling after squirrels. She's not lunging after cats or dogs or children or anything like that. So it was possible to do, and I couldn't resist because the books themselves practically write a Steve Reed's column. The first one is by Robert Lacey, who was a biographer of Queen Elizabeth II, and he wrote a book called Battle of Brothers about Prince William and Prince Harry and how they hate each other and their wives hate each other. He wrote this book. And then the next year, Christopher Anderson wrote Brothers and Wives about Prince Harry and Prince Andrew and their wives and whether or not the wives hate each other. And then the year after that, Tina Brown wrote this, The Palace Papers, which is about how Queen Elizabeth II hated Camilla and the wives of the brothers hate each other and the brothers hate each other and the brothers hate Camilla and maybe the wives hate the Queen and whatnot. This book is suffused with hatred. And of the 3, this is the only one that I read when it came out. This came out in 2022, I believe. Got this from the publisher. Yeah, 2022. Probably saw this on this channel. This is the only one of the 3 that I've read. But all 3 of them deal with the exact same subject. Turmoil behind the scenes in the House of Windsor. And so I thought, I saw that and right away thought, well, you should read them all together and then write about that experience, write about what it was like. So I will do that. I got 3 books on the House of Windsor. I have read an enormous amount on this particular ruling dynasty, so 3 more will certainly help. And Tina Brown, unlike these other 2, Robert Lacey I've read a few of his books, but Tina Brown is at least rereadable. And Robert Lacey kind of sort of is too, so I'm not in for a torment when I do. I'll do one a night until I'm done with them. So there you go. Those are some new releases. There's some very snazzy new Len Deighton trade paperbacks. There's 3 books on the battling brothers of the Windsor family. There's 2 new valuable volumes on the literary corpus of Jack Spicer. And the 2 are not the collected verse of Jack Spicer, which is perfect for me. There's something on George Downing, who gave his name to Downing Street. There's a new book about Pearl Harbor, Japan's greatest disaster because it made, for Japan, an enemy out of the United States of America, which is not a wise thing to do. We have Quicksilver. Probably a lot of you have read this. Certainly all of the fantasy dudes have, but I can't ask them because they don't like me. They don't want anything to do with me. But I'll be curious to know if maybe this is a case where time really was needed. And then finally, Loeb doing St. Augustine. Or George Augustine, whatever they're going to call St. Augustine, and doing St. Augustine that's off the beaten path. When you think of this figure, you think of 2, maybe 3 books, but you don't think of these 2. So fantastic. That's just great. Of all of these tonight in the little book room, I will take the first of these Windsor books, and I'm going to read them in chronological order. So I'm going to read Battle of Brothers first. And probably St. Augustine. I would probably those 2 will be in there first. Maybe Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Spy. I shouldn't do it. If of these 2, I should read Horse Underwater first. Because I don't think I've ever read it. If I have, I certainly don't remember it. I remember this. But I don't know. It's quite a bit to choose from. So there you go. Some new arrivals here. Post allergy spasm. So if you can find at least one of those old videos where I last showed a couple of these, then I could send the link to the publicist so they don't think I'm some bum who lives under a bridge. That would be great. I don't mention the fact that I have a 20,000 subscriber YouTube channel. I don't mention that when I deal with publicists at all. Probably the new generation of publishers would very much like to know that, but it just never occurs to me to do. So sending them a link would be good, although maybe not. You tell me. Maybe a normal person would look at one of my mail or new arrival videos and be horrified. After all, you and I are in a parasocial relationship. Anyway, I'll wrap this up for now, whatever this was, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.